Hey yo, what's up, everybody? Hello again. Hope you're all doing well out there. Happy Tuesday to you. We're a week away from the Vermeer Pack launching on my birthday, a week from today. That's going to be exciting stuff. The news around Farming Simulator has been a little bit slow since FarmCon. Basically, just re-postings of things, videos from FarmCon and the like, but also there is fact sheets out now for the Vermeer Pack. So the first set came out this past Friday. The second set will be coming out this Friday. And then, of course, like I said, we're a week away from the Vermeer Pack launching. If you missed the latest podcast, by the way, that's a bit of news that everyone should be aware of. So basically, it's the end of season 2 of the podcast. We're going to take some time off and reboot it in the future. There will be no longer a live podcast with a Q&A. There will only be one podcast a month, and we'll always have like a special guest that we'll interview. But the Q&A will come back on its own on a separate live stream. So hello to everyone watching on Twitch and on YouTube today, on the Community Corner YouTube. Definitely go make sure you guys are following the Community Corner YouTube channel that we have created now. It just put it into Twitch chat. If you're on YouTube, then you already know where to go. But make sure you subscribe to that because we'll be putting more content out there in the very near future. And that is going to be really cool because it's not just going to be like the spotlight streams every week. It's not just going to be the live podcast anymore. We're going to do like a wider variety of things. In fact, we've got Tonymif, who's going to join us here in just a moment as the guest today. And then we have 82 Studio next week as the guest on the Spotlight. And then we're going to kind of reboot the Spotlight streams as well after that. And we're going to have the Spotlights are likely going to be once a month or maybe twice a month. And we're going to start mixing in other types of content. So lots of cool things to look forward to in that regard. And I am super excited because, of course, before I was hired by Giants, I was a farm sim and other games content creator myself. So that's kind of the realm, the space that I've been in for several years. I've been doing broadcasting in one form or another outside of video game streaming. I've done radio and sports broadcasting and so many other things. So this is exactly the type of thing that I want to do for this amazing community and for the company. So we're going to have the freedom with that new Community Corner YouTube to do a lot more things. There's actually like a in-person live interview spotlight of sorts that I did with DJ Goham that's going to come out on the Community Corner YouTube as well. We filmed that while we were at FarmCon, but between getting back from FarmCon and moving and now like Gamescom prep and other things that are going on, I've not found the time to edit this video yet, so it will be coming out very soon, hopefully. All right, without further ado, I think that we need to do really what we came here for, and we need to bring in Tonymif. Tony, say hello to everybody.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
So, Tony, good news for those of you that maybe haven't heard yet, but Tony, you want to tell people what just arrived at your door a moment ago?
Yes. So I can show it. CPU arrived just before I got hooked up with Kermit. So as soon as this is done, we're putting in a new CPU in the PC, and hopefully we're back to normal.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, Tony has had issues with his PC for quite a while now. It's kind of impacted some of your streams too, and I'm really glad that you could at least join us for the spotlight. That was one of your concerns, like how much processing power do I need for this thing? Because I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, I was worried that it would crash in the middle, but once we got that sent off, I borrowed a laptop, and everything's good. So
good. All right. So Tony, like originally you were a console streamer for Farm Sim, like back, even like not close to a year ago when I first got hired and started watching you. I think you were still on PS5 or PS4.
PS4, yeah. I think I did that for just over a year on 19 for just over a year, and then luckily got the PC thanks to some very kind people. But yeah, I streamed for a long time on console. And I've been streaming the last couple of weeks on console while the PC's down.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, at least you were already experienced in how to do it. Huh? You didn't have
IO
to
Klein.
worry
I
too
got to
much.
throw that IO in there for Klein. They'll kick me out of Ohio if I don't.
Yeah. Honestly, I used to go to like a Young Life camp when I was younger, and the Ohio kids always did this at camp. And no offense to you guys, but it always drove everyone not from Ohio crazy. This whole,
Yeah.
It's like,
We have so many weird things that annoy people. Like you have to say "the" in front of the Ohio State University. You can't say red. You have to say scarlet. Yeah, trust me. I know it. I know. We're annoying.
yeah, it's okay though. We still love you nonetheless. Hendrik, one of our mods on Discord and YouTube, over on YouTube, says no overtime on the stream this week, Kermit. Let's get Tony to work on his PC.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm sure he's excited to get to work on it. But yeah, we're going to ask you a few questions today. I love these spotlights, and they're always about the guests that, we bring along. And so we want to get to know you more and your community. But you've quickly become, so like, how long have you been streaming now? A couple of years then?
Yeah, just over 2 years. Like I said, about a year and a couple months on the. It depends. My first streams went like once a month, and I didn't have a microphone, so I always argue my Twitch anniversary. But yeah, just over 2 years.
Okay. I mean, to be honest, like, it seems like you've been around the scene for longer, just because of how like quick of an impact you're making. But we had Misty Meow on last week, and she's at something now like 9 months, I think, close to that, maybe closer to 10 now, that she's been playing Farm Sim and streaming it. I think it's really cool how, like, if you find your community, how quickly you can like get settled in and get to know people in the Farm Sim community, because it's, even though like our game is super popular and getting more and more popular every version, it's still a rather like tight-knit community, especially like if you're like segmenting it down to like who's watching all the time on Twitch and YouTube. You see a lot of the same faces all the time.
That's when everybody talks about like my community, it's more the Farm Sim community, because if you love the game and you love the stream, and you're like me, I'm hopping around to streams all the time. And
Right.
It's more not just my community, but you'll see people from other streams and crisscrossing, and everybody's bouncing back and forth, and you just get to know everybody.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. I love that about the community for sure, because I mean, you see like Richard in here is saying like, ask you about space cows, by the way. And then
Yeah.
Richard was also in the stream last week giving Misty a hard time. So, he's just one example of so many other people that are always like in people's streams too when they're streaming Farm Sim.
Right. If you love the game and the content, and we have some great content creators, then you find yourself just going all over the place and meeting everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so what was your first farming simulator version that you played then?
19.
19. So picked up 19 on PS4, correct? Like originally?
Yep, got it free on the PlayStation Plus.
Oh, okay.
And I had not heard of it before.
Really?
And then when it came on, I had a buddy. So backstory is, I'm not much of I was what you would call an introvert or antisocial, if you want to use that one. But I didn't game online with people. I didn't, have a microphone when I first started.
Right.
And I got hooked up with some people from a different game, and he started telling me about Farm Sim. And he told me some horror stories about going onto servers and chopping down trees and then running away. And I'll be honest, I actually thought Farming Simulator was Farmville from Facebook for quite a while.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. So, like, you were playing other games before, though? What kind of games were you playing before?
The first game I really got onto online was Fishing Planet.
Okay.
That's where I met the people and got me into talking on party chats, but I mostly played single player games. I didn't play online with people.
Interesting.
I just thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Obviously things have changed, but
I mean, that kind of blows my mind, Tony, that you said that you were kind of like that before, because like if you had never told me that, I would have never like pictured that in a million years, because even like back when you were on PS4 and you didn't have a camera and you were streaming, like you were always engaging from like the start. Like you were there and you were like talking to people, and it was all about the conversation to you as you're playing, and it continues to be like that. So I'm kind of surprised by that comment.
And it surprises everyone like that know me before. They say, "You're doing what? You're talking like like this shirt has a saying on it, right? I'm just here to establish an alibi." But I literally get Christmas presents every year with a shirt that says something like "Stop talking" or "I don't like you." So like I have this, persona, but I don't know what happened once I started actually streaming it. It was just something happened. I don't know. It's not a stretch to say streaming changed me.
Well, that's great. And I mean, there's also something to be said, I think, about streaming like a game like Farming Simulator specifically compared to others, because it does allow a little bit more for conversations to go on with people, and especially when those people are of the same mind, where like they love the game, or maybe they're just like you, they're newer to the game as well, and they want to learn alongside you. So I think that's a really a strength of Farming Simulator, especially when you combine it, partner it with live streaming, or even like YouTube content creation as well. Like there's just something about it, isn't there?
I don't think you can understate the farm sim game for streaming, number one, and the community for new people to stream. I think it's so easy for people to say, I'll try streaming. Because you can, you're not sitting there doing a shooter where you can't pay attention. You can actually have conversations with people, and the people that you have the conversations with have been just amazing because they're so friendly. And for me, that didn't know what I was doing, well, I still don't know what I'm doing in Farm Sim, but they help you out, and they're patient, and hey, you do it this way, try that. You can't understate the community getting me to where I am, because if somebody would have been mean at the start, I probably would have been like, I'm done.
Yeah. I love that, man. I mean, the thing is, as well, is like over on YouTube right now, Yas, who is like a good
pancakes.
Yeah, of course, bringing the pancakes all the time. He's over there giving me a hard time, But like, you start to realize that too, is like there's people, you've made it in this community when the regulars are giving you a hard time, because
absolutely,
it's always clean and good fun, but always like a little bit like winding you up about how you're driving, or just other things. And
today
I love
was
that
my
about this
mowing
community too. Oh yeah, was it your mowing earlier?
Yes. and they redeemed so many hydrates because they wanted me to have to take a bio break during this, so I'm fully saturated.
I'm so glad you said bio break again. You're like the second person that said this, and I said this to DJ Goham one time, and he was like, "What the heck is a bio break?" I'm like, "You haven't heard of this term?"
Yeah, it's the nice way of saying, the water closet or whatever, the loo.
I love it. Okay, what drew you? I mean, you told me that a friend was telling you initially, but like beyond that, was there something that convinced you to say, "Yeah, I'll give Farming Simulator a go"? Once you started to have a look at it.
Yeah, I mean,
we
being field next to our house and a cornfield across from it. We grew up in the country, running around the woods.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with it. I think it was just an open world that you didn't have to do anything. There was no, little star in this thing where you had to do a side mission, or, there was nothing forcing you to do anything. So you could just drive around for 3 hours if you wanted to. The pace of Farm Sim can be however you want it. You can, do big fields and do a lot of work and try and get it done, or speed up time. And it was literally, you could just do whatever you wanted. And then, like the landscape tool, you can do whatever you want with that, which we broke a few maps to start with. But, that's not having any rules and not having any boundaries and making it how you wanted it, sort of like a sandbox. That drew me into it right away.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great part of it. Hopefully, everyone, by the way, the stream is running okay. I am dropping just a few frames, but hopefully everything's all right, so bear with us. I love that about the game because like you can play it really like in so many different ways, but like you said, the pace of it as well like is for some people it's hard to adjust. When I was at TwitchCon in Amsterdam, I met a few streamers that were there for like they were Sega creators and they were there like streaming Total War and games like that. But they came by the booth and they were like, I've seen Farm Sim a lot. It seemed like it was pretty popular, especially when it released late last year. And so they were curious about it. And now they've like, these kinds of people have tried it out themselves. And that's like the first thing that I often get as a comment from these people when they send me like a follow-up email is like, man, like that was such a different pace of a game than I'm used to, but it was quite enjoyable. And there's definitely, people like yourself that are streaming mostly Farm Sim or all Farm Sim all the time. But then there's also a lot of, variety streamers that see Farm Sim as that kind of perfect change of pace type of game where maybe they're streaming something like a little bit more stressful, maybe competitive. And then Farm Sim's always there for them to come back to and kind of just chill out on and relax. And I almost put myself to sleep the other. In fact, I did fall asleep harvesting a field the other day. I was playing with my wife, and I was like, I said something to her like, "I'm struggling over here to stay awake." And this was at like the beginning of a pass, and then I woke up at the end of a pass and somehow didn't miss any like crop.
Yeah,
And
that's why you got to turn crop destruction off. Just saying.
yeah. And then I was like, okay, you're gonna have to take over. I'm struggling over here because it is like I was already tired to begin with, but it's a game that I play a lot just to chill me out. Like if I need to relax, it's the best medicine. This past weekend, I just did Farming Simulator League, and I had to get up at like 2 a.m. for the sound checks. And I just played Farm Sim in the evenings to kind of wind down and kind of get ready for bed. I love it.
It's just so customizable because, like I said, there's no side missions. There's no flashing, go finish this. You can do whatever you want. You can do everything or nothing. You can just do decorations and run around the town, and you can do no man's land and build everything. It's just, you can speed up time to 10 times or, half time. And you can do whatever you want in the game.
So I'm gonna make everyone a little bit jealous real quick, and say that this morning, contrary to popular belief, I don't get paid to play Farm Sim all the time. But this morning, I did get paid to play Farm Sim. Before this stream, I was with some of my colleagues on Silver Run Forest, messing around, trying to find bugs and such. And I'm really excited to see what people do with this map. You mentioned No Man's Land, and there's some really cool things on this map that you guys don't even know about yet that we're going to tell you about very soon. And it's going to have that similar kind of capabilities, I think, to be almost like a blank slate map. Clear all those trees out, clear the area out if you want, and then start to plow your own fields in. I think it's going to be really cool. Some really cool things on that map. So everyone in chat's like, "Ooh, get out of here, Kermit!"
I know, so jealous. All the knives are coming out.
Jab, Kermit. I have alpha testing experience.
I have no testing experience, but I like to play games.
So yeah, it was fun, but at the same time, it was also like a learning experience for the team, and we were trying to find bugs as well. So hopefully, our efforts put in this morning will pay off by the time it's in your guys' hands, and those bugs will be mostly cleaned up. It's hard to catch everything, but we are working on it. Contrary to some people's belief, we're trying to squash all these bugs as much as possible. Okay, what was it about the game? I think you kind of already mentioned it, but what was it about it that hooked you and kept you coming back?
For me, the thing that keeps me going, and still today, is the equipment. So everyone knows I'm like the mod. I love mods.
Right.
I do my mod time every day. We go look at the mod hub when they come out, and I say what I think about the mods. I do the thing on YouTube with mods. I highlight some. It's just the new equipment. Like, how is this going to work if something comes out? This new tractor, how is that going to work? Or, this windrower, how is that going to work? Productions now, what inputs do I need? How is that going to make us money? So for me, it's just all the equipment and just that's why I love the mod so much, because it's always just new equipment all the time, new stuff for me to try out.
I love the modding community in this game because of that very fact. Like, there's always something coming out. There's always something new to try.
Yep, 3-meter cultivators.
The people like you do mod time with Tony. DJ Goham does his like daily mod update videos too, and like it literally, there's so many mods coming out that it can be like part of your content creation to just focus on that, because there's always something like exciting coming out, and always something that is kind of keeping things fresh. I love it.
Yeah, and when I first started, I'd always watch DJ's videos and just see all the stuff that I wasn't seeing on, because I wasn't connected to, all the different places or the modders. So, I was on console, I would just get what they gave us, and I would watch his and be like, oh, this is great. And then we finally went to PC. It was, everyone said you're going to have like 3 terabytes of mods in the first, 24 hours. And I didn't go that far, but I do have a lot of mods, and they're all organized.
I played with you and Bane that one time, and you sent me like your mod folder, and I was like, holy cow, man, you've come a long way from your PS4 days just not that long ago.
Yeah.
And you were like, trust me, that's a tame amount of mods. You were like, I could have made it a lot worse on you.
I mean, like, Lead Dog is in here. He's our mod father. He's my sensei. But he sends me stuff. I send him stuff, and yeah, I have quite a bit of mods. I'll have a server maybe with 4 gigs of mods on it. Easy. I've broken maps just putting my whole mod folder onto a map, and I don't know. It's just something new for me that I like. Like Irish is talking about the tree shaker. We've been talking about the tree shaker for a while. On 19, they had one on Cantabria, I think it was, Infinite. And, that would be a cool mod. And I actually tried to contact the modder, but now we have the Olive mod that came out, and it has a tree shaker.
Okay.
So anything that comes out new like that, just piques my interest. I'm refreshing itch pages all day, and I'm in 7 million Facebook groups. I'm everywhere just trying to find some new mod, and if I find it, then I want to show it off.
I love that. JK from Trelleborg from the FSL is in chat, and he says everyone featured in this series of streams should do the bale stacking challenge live on stream.
Oh no. I tried my FSL practice yesterday, and let's just say it did not go well, and JK is not going to need me.
Oh, okay, you're not going to join Team Trelleborg anytime soon?
I said during the FSL stream on over the weekend that, Trelleborg needs a handicap. The handicap is putting me on the team.
Yeah.
And see if they can win with me on the team. That would be the real achievement.
I'm not sure they want to risk it.
No.
4 tournaments in a row. Congrats to Trelleborg. If you guys haven't watched the Farming Simulator League yet, you should check it out. It's definitely not for everyone. I get that, but you should at least give it a chance, because you'd be surprised, and you'll probably fall in love with it like a lot of us have. Anyways, back to you, Tony. Going to more like present times with 22. So you played 19, and now you're on 22. What would you say is your favorite thing about 22?
I think I go back and forth on this. I think the best part of 22 is that it brought console and PC to a equal footing almost. Now that has a few disadvantages for the PC people, but I think, in my opinion, Giants tried to make 22 even for both platforms. So console gets better mods, like fermenting silos and productions. That's my favorite aspect, because at heart, I'm probably still a console streamer. So like, even with the mods, I look and say, oh, this is for console. That's great. That's my favorite. Even though I might not use it, I still want console, because let's face it, they're the revenue generators for most games.
Yeah, I mean, so many more people have a console for sure, just because of affordability, ease of use. You're right. And Farm Sim, I think, for consoles too, like, it's a good way to try the game out, see if you like it, and then if you want to do like yourself, like what you did, and you fall in love with the mods, and you want to have a wider range of mods available for you, like, then you can kind of make that decision to make that leap into the PC side of things, because there's so much more freedom with what you can do with the PC version of the game. But it's cool to hear you say that, because I mean, that's where you started, right? And And
Yeah, I mean, like we would have to find ways. We had a longtime viewer of mine. We would just find weird things to do with the console mods. We would put the milling machine on the front of the semi,
okay.
and windrow our grass with a semi and a milling machine.
Okay, I like that. That's
You
cool.
know, we'd find ways where like little glitches, not bugs, but you'd put a trailer full of lime on the back of your tractor, and the front lime spreader would take it out of the trailer. So you'd have a 50,000 liter trailer full of lime. So that's what we did just to see what we could do to make it more towards PC side.
Okay, that's cool. What would you say with 22? I have a feeling I know your answer to the first part of this question. What's your favorite base game map, and what's been your favorite 1 to 3 modded maps? I know someone like you've probably played a lot of mod maps at this point.
Yeah, my favorite base game map is Elm Creek. It's I'm from the Midwest. It's a base Midwest game, so that's what looks most familiar.
Right.
So, but Hot Bay, as we call it, is great. Elm Creek, Alpine map is good as well.
Right.
My favorite modded map is the next one. I jump around maps so much.
The next one, I love that answer.
I literally just, hey, let's go check this one out. Let's go check that one out. I have like in my mod folder just folders full of maps that I haven't even tried yet.
Yeah.
I just love them all. If somebody puts out a new one, I wanna go check it out.
Misty, who was our guest on the spotlight last week, I don't know if it was live on stream or after, but she was talking about how excited she was that you were going to be the guest this week, because she said that you were one of the first farm sim streamers that she watched, and she said that when she tuned in you were like on Mars or something.
Yes, Mars was great. Farmer Bob did Mars, I believe, and
Okay.
again, my thing is if it's weird and looks cool, I want to use it.
Right.
If it looks like a John Deere, okay, it's nice. It looks like a John Deere. If it looks like some sort of weird thing that came out of a lab, that's what I want.
Okay, all right.
So Mars was just so bizarre. And he thought outside the box and he did something different. And there was red dirt and biodomes and, the SpaceX rocket. And we RP'd that, Elon Musk was sending us money to buy our equipment. And
Okay.
and it had a challenge to it. You had to, produce a certain amount of each crop. So we did the challenge. And it was just so different and out of the ordinary. And I didn't see anybody at the time streaming it. And I going back to maps, I try to use maps that no one else is streaming just for content or, to just differentiate myself.
Right.
But nobody was doing Mars. So we did Mars. And, like Richard says, we had space cows.
Yeah, he had said something earlier before this stream started as well. Like, let me see if it still shows there. Tony went farming on Mars, but he didn't bring helmets for his cows.
No, the cows were genetically engineered to breathe the Martian atmosphere. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was kind of fun. Like, we had the motorcycle helmet as our space helmet.
Okay.
And the orange jumpsuit to make it look more like Mars, and
I love it.
any mod that looked like it was going to be like a Mars rover or something strange like that, we would take.
That's great.
Just mess with it. It was just fun.
Hey, that's the number one goal. Have fun, and that's the beauty of Farming Simulator is you can do whatever you want with it, especially once you start finding these mods and things like that to kind of customize it to your experience. And I love that about our game for sure. Okay, well, we've heard a few things from you so far, but like being that you've been around 2 versions of the game now, you've been streaming for a couple of years, like what kind of advice would you have for people that are new to Farming Simulator?
Just the game or streaming, you talking?
Yeah, either one. Yeah, tell us anything you're feeling right now. Like, what would you have to say?
Well, streaming, speaking of Jad being in here, if you're having fun playing the game, I went out and just DM'd people to get advice. I have no shame. I just like, hey, famous streamer, tell me what's the secret. So, I DM'd a bunch of people like Kubi and I said, hey, how do I do this? And tying it back to Farm Sim, they were like, if you're doing it right, your game is almost background. So Farming Sim, like I said, is a great game for streaming because you can play it, but you can still pay attention to what you're doing, especially when you're starting.
Right.
And, you know, speaking of jab, I was, I'm on a map and I have 2 viewers and I'm 2 hours in, I'm talking to myself and, in comes jab. And he just sits down and talks. I think I was getting a header stuck on a header trailer.
Okay.
And he's like, "Oh, do it this way." And, of course it works because it's jab. And, he just sat and talked to me for a while. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. But he was having fun watching people and I was having fun playing. It didn't matter. I had 2 people in there.
Right.
But farm sim wise, I mean, start with the tutorials. That's obvious, but don't be afraid to fail. It's a game. Games are supposed to be fun. We say it all the time. You know what? If you do the landscaping tool and build a mountain like I did in 19, start over. So what?
Right.
You know what? If you don't get the 100% yield on your crops, who cares? Start over. Do it again. It's always going to be back there. You can always press reset.
Right.
Keep going. Have fun. That's the most important thing. Have fun. If you're not having fun, no one's going to be having fun. Which I've learned over this crashing of my PCs. You gotta have
Right.
fun. But as long as you do that, and as long as you play the way you do, and continue to be yourself and not try to play something up, you'll be fine.
I think that's like it's a great piece of advice to just like keep going, because we find this a lot with our game, and we as developers at Giants, like we're aware of like how complex Farming Simulator can be, especially when you start adding in new mods that have their own like set of buttons that aren't included as the base game experience or whatever. Like, you can make it as complex as you want to be. And the starting process isn't as easy as a lot of games are either, because even if you do the tutorial, then you're left going, what's next, basically. Like,
Right.
I've been teaching my wife started playing in 22 because of cross-platform multiplayer, and for her, like, the hardest thing I think for her to learn is like, once one thing was over, what comes next? Like, what's the next step here? Like, where do I go after I cultivate the field? Now what? Like, and if you're not kind of familiar with how farming works, I think that's the biggest learning curve. But you
And
need
you get
to
different opinions too, though.
Yeah.
Because some people don't roll.
Right.
They don't do rolling in there. Some people, don't plow at certain times. We were having that conversation yesterday.
Yeah, it depends on what you have turned on and off and the settings as well. Like, you can really play it in so many different ways and do the processes differently as well. So yeah, you're right. The one person will have a different answer from the next, but I think the biggest hurdle to get over as a new player for Farming Simulator is that you do just need to keep going. Like, as long as you're having fun, keep going. And the thing about the game that I love is, like, there's really no way to lose. Yeah, if you have crop destruction on, you can destroy your crop. If you wait too long, your crops are gonna die out. Like, you have to be like on top of those things if those settings are enabled as well. But like, there's really no way to lose the game. Like you said, just keep going. Like, if you run over your crop with crop destruction on and you don't want to turn it off, then oh well, you made a mistake. Like, real life farming, things get destroyed all the time, and it's not a perfect easy scenario. So just keep going, keep moving along, and then definitely do what Tony and so many others have done, and go ask people for help or have those conversations. Go watch YouTube videos, go watch streams, and get involved within the community, because I have found, even more so since I started working for Giants, that like, I already knew this community was special, but now, like, seeing it from the inside out, like, you guys are a huge part of why this game is successful, because there's just this willingness to help each other and work together and also get to know each other. I love it.
And like today, I forgot to lime a field today. So what? All right. And
Right.
my yield's going to be down a little bit. No big deal. And that's two plus years in, 3,000 some hours worth of game.
Yeah. Lime
there's
is
not a
one I
week
forget
goes-
a lot.
Yeah, there's not a week goes by where I'm like, why isn't my trailer unloading? And someone in chat says, hey, press the, you're on the wrong implement. So,
Right.
you just forget stuff. It's
Yeah.
just keep going. It's fun. It's a game. If you're having fun, keep going.
Yeah.
You'll get through it, or start over. Who cares?
I love it. Okay. What would you say is your favorite thing about the farm sim community? I feel like you've already been answering this as we go along, but if you could summarize now, like, what's been your favorite thing about this community?
Yeah, I mean, just read the Twitch chat that's going on right now. Everyone's saying about space cows, or my mowing skills, or I'm new here. I get that all the time. And it's they'll come in and give you the business a little bit, but they'll come in and if you need something. I have not had anybody say no to any request I've ever asked. Whether it's a map or a mod, or you know can I jump on a farm with you? There's really nothing anyone says no to. They're
Right.
willing to do pretty much everything. They keep supporting you, even you might not have the best stream setup. I'm in a little white apartment here, but they don't care. As long
Right.
as you're having a good time and they're having a good time, they'll come back. You don't need fancy sound alerts and all that stuff. They're just so nice and so non-toxic. It's just amazing.
I like that Hog Eric says spicy jelly beans are why Tony gets out of bed, and screaming
Oh,
words.
yeah, we've been on a bean break for a while, but I was doing the hot beans, and it takes a toll on you. Let's just say that.
Oh, yeah. Hello, everyone. Hello, Tristan, a first-time chatter on Twitch. Hi from France. It's the best game. This is like, how international is your community as well? Like, tell me some places that some of your members of your community are from.
Well, we do have a lot of Canadians,
Okay.
which is awesome, and we joke about the conversion rates all the time. They'll say, I got 3 acres harvested, and I'll be like, that's like 76 in Canadian, right? So we just go back and forth with that. And we had someone from Japan, I think yesterday or day before. First
Wow,
time I had
okay.
someone in from Japan. Pretty much every country you can think of, the Finland, Sweden, everywhere. Now, I'm majority, it's North America,
Right.
but it's literally every country, which is just amazing. The Australians, you got to remember as a streamer, like all these different time zones. And you're like, good morning. And it's like, no, it's tomorrow. Don't worry.
Yeah, they're in the future.
Right. So it's just everywhere. And it's, credit to Farm Sim and, Giants that, it's just and we talk about this in the stream all the time too, is, the difference between some people roll and don't. And like, it's a global game. It's a global community. Everything's not going to be, you're in a little corner of the world. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
And we just learn so much from everybody. It's amazing.
it's growing more and more, and it's really cool as well, like how, like, once you start to get into the game, at least for me, like, I started to get more and more into agriculture and trying to learn more about it, and like farming looks so much different, like, from one place to the next. Like, not only like the crops that they're farming, but the equipment they're using, the processes that they're having to do, the ground type that they're having to deal with, also makes it different how they have to work it and things like that. But it's really something that anyone in any part of the world can relate to, even if they don't realize it yet. Like, agriculture impacts their life. You're going to the grocery store, you're buying food that feeds you and keeps you alive. Like, agriculture is impacting your life. And I think the only barrier of connecting the entire farm sim community together is just language. Like, because,
Yeah. And if you could get, closed captioning on the Twitch streams, I mean, that would be something else, because then everybody would know what everyone else was saying. It'd just be amazing.
right, that would be great. Yeah, I think it was really cool to be at FarmCon and to see, like, the few English speaking guys that were there, intermingling within, like, the mainly German, but also some other European, like, members that were there from the community, and realizing that pretty much, not all the time, but pretty much everyone knows everyone already. Like, even if, like, they're not speaking the same native language. I know, like, there was a fan who came, you may have seen, like, pictures around with a t-shirt on, and on the back it had, like, all of the names of, like, basically the influencers, the streamers that were going to be at FarmCon. So they had the long list of German guys that were there, but also Farm Sim Guy and Farmer Cop and DJ Goham. And that was just so cool to see, because like this game is growing more and more across the world, and it's becoming more and more international. So really the only barrier of us all being connected is language at the end of the day. Whenever we put out news on our Steam page, we actually send that along to a lady who translates it into Japanese. So you said you had a viewer from Japan the other day, for the first time. And so like you may not see like every country's like community in your stream because they don't speak your language, but like it's really cool when they start to like mix together, because
Well, you'll get a lot of too that, they're not able to have like long conversations or ask a bunch of questions, but you'll see someone come in and they'll say they'll translate enough to say like what map, right?
right.
So you know that they're watching from somewhere, but they can't necessarily converse with you.
Right.
But they know enough to say what map, or hello, hello from wherever. So you're getting them there, and if we could bridge that language gap, that would just be amazing.
It meant a lot to me actually. When I was at TwitchCon and FarmCon, I met the Red Cat, aka Steven. He's a content creator. He plays Farm Sim and Truck Sim on Twitch, but he also is one of the German FSL casters.
Yeah.
And I actually asked him, I was like, are the like German guys that like, are they sad that they aren't on the spotlight because I don't speak German? And he even like, he apologizes for his English all the time, and he speaks pretty good English. We can carry on a conversation, especially when we're in person. And he was like, no, like, he was like, for me, it shows that you care about the streamer. And he was like, that's all that really matters to me at the end of the day. Like,
yeah, and he's apologizing for speaking 2 languages, and I barely speak one well.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah.
I always say I speak 2 languages, English and bad English. So, but that's about it for me. Very, very terrible Spanish too, because I didn't take it seriously enough as a kid when I was taking it in school.
Yeah, I got a little bit of Italian I can understand. I can't really speak it, but if we had some people come in and say some stuff in Italian, and I knew enough to have to ban that person, I'll say that. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
I know some German, but I can't say it here on stream because my colleagues are not teaching me important words. They're teaching me only the most obscene, right?
Right.
The funny words. Okay. What would you say? Like, you've kind of given this advice already, but like, man, like, how do you see? This isn't a question I usually ask, but I want to throw it in here. Like, how do you see like the future of your content creation journey with Farm Sim going? And like, maybe you can work in some advice about like how you go through like a day-to-day process of going live, basically.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think I have definitely evolved in my streaming over the 2 years. I took a lot of time in the past to set up content and get my fields the way I wanted. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna harvest this field, I'm gonna plow this, and have a plan for what I was gonna do, or I'd have certain mods that I wanted to show off. And I've really gotten to the point where I just press the button now, because Farm Sim is like that. It gives you the ability to do that, because again, there's always going to be something to do. I don't need to plan out what I'm going to do. Everyone that's watching me's either seen a field harvested or harvested a field. They've either fertilized a field or seen a field fertilized. They know what's coming. There's no spoiler alerts, right? So I can just go about what I'm going to do and give a general overview of my plan for the map, or what I'm trying to accomplish with the map, if there's a challenge or whatever. And that has been so freeing that I can just focus on the chat and the conversation and getting to know the people more, that I don't have to worry about, I got to do this next and this next and this next. As far as the future of Farm Sim, I think it's just going to get better and better. And especially for a person like me, came out in November, so we're less than a year in. And I think we talk about this all the time, that the mods are just going to get better and better at, complexity wise. I'd still like to see a global company, if nothing for standardized palettes. Come on, guys, let's pick one and go with it. But things like Maze Plus can come back, or the more complex mods like that gives me content.
Okay.
nobody wants, like, we joke about the moment, but nobody wants to see me mow a field. It is what it is. But if I can take a production and show that off and do something different with that, or um, a new harvester, like get that olive mod that came out with the tree shaker, the olive trees, show that off. Maybe someone hasn't seen that. Maybe they can't use it. Maybe they're on console, but they want to see it. Tons of people come in all the time, say, I'm on console, I can't use that, but I love seeing it.
Okay.
So
that.
I think Farm Sim is just getting better and better. And, with the addition of the Platinum that you talked about earlier, with the new map, and, the hints of new productions for that, I don't know exactly how that's going to work, unless you want to tell me afterwards. You can.
Nice try.
Right. But,
Don't blame you for trying.
There's new productions methods, and there's, new equipment with the winches. Everything's new. I think that is just going to start exploding because people have figured out the architecture of 22. They've figured out, the coding better. The patches don't, change things too much anymore. So I think that the game is just going to get better. And for a guy like me, it's kind of lined up perfectly that I can show off the new weird stuff.
What do you, going back to like FarmCon, like, first of all, were you watching like that stuff live, or did you have to watch it later?
I watched some of it live. I didn't get to watch that whole preview on the map. I had to go run out. I came back for just the end of it, but I saw the winches in action, and the new thing with the tree marker.
Oh yeah.
And sort of the auto load on the harvester. All that stuff is new, and that perks my my ears up, and I'm like, yes, I want to try that. I want to load that in and play with it and break it. My goal is always break something. I want to mess with it until it quits. But in a good way,
Right.
because I want to find out everything about it. So yeah, seeing all that stuff, that new stuff was just amazing.
What was your favorite like thing, or maybe a couple of things from the FarmCon announcements?
Oh God, like everything, the Vermeer stuff. I'm excited about the Vermeers. I didn't get to watch all of the pumps and hoses part, but
Pumps and hoses.
Yeah, and contrary to popular belief, I'm not Mr. Realism, but like that stuff excited me. It's again, I'm always
really
looking
cool.
for something new, right? And that is completely new. So seeing them run those hoses onto the field, and yeah, anything new like that, I'm like drooling at the screen.
I think that the cool thing about pumps and hoses is not only is it going to be like really cool and uniquely new to farm sim like equipment that's coming as part of that pack, new processes and new like gameplay that you can do that you've never been able to do before, but on top of that, like, it should be exciting if like you are a content creator who is obsessed with the mods. Like, the mod creators out there should be excited by this too, because if you guys come up, if you're a modder out there, especially if you're a modding team and you can accomplish something that you think will be amazing that we'd be interested in, then like come up with a business plan, come up with a little plan. This is exactly what Creative Mesh did, and bring it to Giants. And you never know, like, this is a really cool thing about us being a publisher now, is that it's not going to just be Creative Mesh is the only person that ever puts out a third-party developed DLC like this. Like, there is opportunity now for other people to do the same. It has to be a really cool idea. It has to be something that we would find unique, like pumps and hoses. But if you have something in mind and you know you can achieve it, then by all means, like, you should be excited by this moment too, because it's a big step forward for us as a company. Like, when we announced that we were going to start self-publishing, that in itself was like a huge step forward. But like, this is really the first sign of like what that means, really. Like, as a publisher now, like, it gives us a lot more freedom to do a lot more things that we couldn't do previously.
Yeah, and that inspires other modders to do similar things, like you're saying. Submit things, and hopefully, like I always joke about the 3-meter cultivators, but somebody sees something new like that, maybe they contact Creative Mesh and say, we have this piece of equipment that we'd like to make compatible, and they combine and they collaborate, and we get better stuff. Anything like that is good news for farm sim in general, and for players and content creators like myself.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the really cool question here in a second, the one that I always save for last. But before that, I think it was Richard a moment ago asking if patch 1.7 was going to be released on Tuesday. So please keep in mind, obviously, that whenever there's a release, like any number of things can and probably are likely to be mixed up or go wrong. But like our plan as a company is that rolling release. So this doesn't mean that it'll be live immediately everywhere for everyone, but it will be starting on Monday, the 22nd at 11 a.m. Central European time. Patch 1.7 will start rolling out on all platforms and going live. So it should be out within a few hours after that on everywhere except for Stadia. And then at midnight local time on the 23rd, so local time for you at midnight, there'll be a rolling release of Vermeer and the Eero Grapeliner DLCs going live on all platforms, and then Stadia will eventually have like the patch and those released as well. So we had a little bit of like a miscommunication or information left out last time, and like there was some confusion with it's a good thing and a bad thing that we're on so many platforms now. It's not a bad thing, but it makes it more complicated because when you're working with like, we've got 3 different platforms on PC that the game comes out on now. We've got 2 Sony and 2 Microsoft console generations that it comes out on. We've got Stadia as well on top of that. Like, there are a lot of moving parts that you have to kind of coordinate and try to get all together. So with Kubota, it was kind of like rolling out at weird times and we weren't really sure where they were happening. So we're always listening to that feedback and trying to improve as well going forward. So keep giving us that constructive criticism, those feedback, because we do listen to it. And this is one thing that we're trying to be like a little bit improved on from our end, is communicating these things. So I won't say that that was a Leakerton moment. I know I can share that information with you, but there'll probably be an official announcement of those sorts too, about like the actual times too. So be on the lookout for that. But that's the information that I received this morning from Kenny, our head of QA. Okay, back to you now, Tony. And my favorite question, we always save it for last. What's your dream list of a few things that you would like to see added into the future of Farming Simulator? And looking at all of you in the camera and saying, this is not anything confirmed coming to the game. We're just going to dream big. So, Tony, fire away.
Well, you know, I have a thing. I have my old man pad, my notepad. I do this because, you know, I'm old. So I always keep that next to the stream. So I did write some stuff down. But first thing is, I think the animal system needs to be overhauled. I think we took a slight step backwards from 19 on the animal depth. Not just, you know, everybody wants alpacas and goats and, you know, all that stuff. That's great. But, you know, there's no watering anymore. I think if you could get maybe, you know, veterinarian stuff or you know, the birthing process, maybe you have to move them to a different barn or anything like that. Anything that increase the animal depth, I think would be huge. Gives you something to do in the off time. Maybe seasons would be more, you know, I might play seasons if I had, you know, stuff to do in the winter.
Right.
But
okay,
animal depth, I think, would be gigantic. Whether it be, and I know we can't do, you know, the one thing because of the rating, and that's fine. But, you know, veterinary bills or nutritional aspects, you know, something to increase the animal depth.
Okay.
Number one.
I like that.
Number two.
Before you proceed, let me just say about that. Like, this is by no means like any confirmation that we're doing this, but I would like to compare what you just said about the animal depth. And we've had animals in Farming Simulator for a long time. We were adding animals in like over several versions. This one, it was more like the focus of like the 3D models of like, you know, how the animals look were improved. But if you compare it to like Platinum coming out in a few months, that is really the first time since FS15 that we've expanded forestry, since it was like added into the game, right? So like we're gonna have a forestry map, and beyond that, like The physics have been worked and changed. Even
So
how
much
the
better.
trees are populated have been changed for this map. And then like all the equipment and the things you can do with it as well. So this is really the first time we've done like a big expansion on forestry. So hopefully one day in the future, I agree with you, we could do something similar with animal husbandry in the game, because there is a lot more room for like a lot more depth that you could do there, because there's really never been like a leap forward in like the processes that were introduced originally of like feed your animals, you get like some products out, you take those products now into the production chains, but it kind of ends there. You're right.
Right.
All right, continue on with the rest of your list.
All right, and I said this before 22 came out, but and modders can basically handle most of this now since you guys are done putting out your base stuff. And I know this changed a little bit with the new map coming out, but different foliage. I think if someone could do a prefab or if any map maker change your grass textures, change your bushes, change your trees. We have the same grass on every map, the same bushes on every map, and the same trees on every map. You could make your map literally and figuratively stand out if you just changed the bushes around or the grass texture.
Okay.
You know, some maps have had, like West By had some different grass, and it was amazing. You know, simple thing is tall grass. It gives the maps, you know, sort of a uniqueness, and they're not sort of, you're always kind of looking like, is that similar to, you know, Elm Creek, or is that similar to this map?
Right.
Just change up the foliage, make it different. You know, like that's the weird thing about Mars. There was no foliage. It was just different. It didn't look like anything else. If they could change foliage. Like Ola's saying, you know, Giants could let the modders have it. If Giants could come up with a package of, you know, 5 or 6 different grasses and, you know, a slew of, obviously we have more trees now with the, you know, there's the dogwoods and all that. That helps. I don't think the modders have fully used those that much, but yeah, I think if Giants could make that easier, as to Ola's point, and send them a package that they could choose from, that would just change all the maps, change the game to make everything fresh.
Okay.
So that's 2. 3 is new harvest methods, and that leads back to that tree shaker mod I was talking about before. We got a lot of mods that are, you know, a corn header, grain header, forage harvester. There's so many other ways to harvest things out there. You know, we go and look at like bean harvesting, you know, with those little bean harvesters, and they come on little pallets on the harvester. Peanuts. If you put peanuts in I messaged you this one. If you put peanuts in this game, people will freak out. People are screaming for peanut farming, an actual peanut harvester, for the longest time, not a T440 modded, right? If you put new methods of harvesting, it just branches the game out in so many different ways. We always talk about sod farming. Now, I live near a sod farm.
Okay.
If you could make a machine that harvests sod, it's not a huge machine. Package that up on a pallet, sell that off, you know, bring it to a housing development for sale, whatever. Sod farming is a huge thing. Jab St. Drag behind harvesters. I just went back to 19 and somebody had put a pull behind harvester up, and I loved that thing. And I tried to get them to convert it to 22, and they ghosted me. But pull behind harvest, different methods of harvesting, anything that, again, I'm different. I want different.
Right.
I want options. Options are beautiful. The more we have, the better. I'm seeing like tobacco and ginseng, but we've had blueberries in maps where you hand-picked blueberries into a basket.
Right.
Things like that built into maps.
Yeah, I saw JK mentioned like rice farming, which is one that we get quite frequently too. Because I mean, this is a huge part of farming in a lot of parts of the world where there are a lot of people.
Right. And currently we get a new crop and it's great, but again, you're basically either using a grain header or a T440 to do it, whether it's a root crop or not.
Right.
So it's just a visual difference. I want different, harvesters, different ways of pulling that crop out of the ground. That's a big thing for me.
Okay.
And then lastly, I gotta say for my console people is, GPS for console. I would put it in like that. It's so needed, and I understand it. Didn't quite make it in, wasn't technically feasible when 22 came out, but dream of all dreams, put it in there.
Yeah, this is something that in the base game people have been asking for a while, and I think it makes sense from like that point of view. Again, like I think the important thing for me is like my role of the company is I get to represent you guys, the community, and so I'm like you as well. I'm a dreamer. Like I was a fan of the game first, and so I have a lot of these ideas in my head before I came into the company. I am not a coder or a 3D artist. Luckily for you guys, you wouldn't like the result of my work if that was my job. But yeah, I mean, I get why people want to see these things because it makes sense. So thanks, Tony. I love
and I have a whole list of stuff that we talked about this week, how to improve the FSL. We want to have silage built into the FSL. I mean, you know, you got to load a certain, you know, bunker and then compact it, and you don't score points until you're done with that. I mean,
I love it. He's bringing feedback for the FSL too. A little bonus edition there. I like it.
I'm telling you, I'll fill this thing up if you ask me to.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like there's so many cool things that people like the ideas that you come up with, and the things that you just shared are things that sometimes I hear them for the first time. Sometimes I've heard them quite a bit. So usually, most of the time, like the same like things are being heard a lot. So you know, the more we hear something, the more likely it is that like when you see a large group of people request something, like you realize, okay, this isn't just one guy asking for this. This is like a large, significant part of the community. So yeah, keep bringing this feedback to us, guys. I love this question on the spotlight because of the fact that you're spending a lot of time, Tony, playing Farming Simulator, and you love the game already, but your passion of like wanting to see it improve comes from your love of the game, and you want to see it become the best it can be. And for me, being an employee of Giants, I want us to become the best company that we can be and produce the best game that we can, because although we are really happy with how 22 came out, we realize that like it's not the end, right? Like you have to be moving forward and pushing things forward and trying to come up with new ways to keep the game moving forward with momentum, and always adding new stuff to the game. So thanks for your answers. And yeah, everyone, can we get feedback on Kermit too? Y'all says in chat. And then Schultz modding on YouTube said needs more Kermit. I'll try to. I can do that for you guys. Like I said, we're gonna.
I got a fever. The only cure, it's more Kermit.
You might not necessarily end up seeing more of me, but you will see a more like larger variety of content here very soon. Like it won't just be these community spotlights. It'll be working title like a giant spotlight. I've been talking about this for a bit. I'm gonna get my colleagues in on a stream. You guys are gonna get to know these people and like what their daily life is and what their insight is of you know, working on the game. It's really cool to see like the passion that these guys have, because Tony, you're passionate about streaming and playing farm sim, and then some of my colleagues are so passionate about the coding that they're doing. I was in a panel at GDC in March about Lua scripting and Halo Infinite multiplayer, and my brain exploded. Okay, like I have no clue. I did not retain anything because I had no idea what was going on. But I basically got there that day, and my colleagues wanted to meet me, and they were like, hey, we're getting ready to go into this panel. Like, come join us. I'm like, okay. So I go in this panel, and I find out what the topic is, and I'm just like a deer in the headlights. And they're all like edge of their seat with their notebooks out, like trying to learn from this. And this is what their passion is. My passion is like the community work, the content creation side of things, the influencer relations, social media. Their passion is, you know, coding, and like they love it, and they want to continue to evolve and get better too. So it's really cool to see that and see how everyone within Giants collaborates. So we'll have some content like that. We will, like I said, the podcast is going to go to once a month. It's going to be a good thing because we're going to have a guest on every episode, whether it's like a guest from a brand. Like we're hoping to have someone from Vermeer on the first one in September to kind of talk about the Vermeer pack and like the history of Vermeer. But it may also be someone from the company. Like in the past, we had the interview with Martin Seidel about how brands get into farming simulators. So topics like that. The Q&As will still be a stream on the community, actually probably just on this Twitch channel, maybe not even on YouTube. I don't think we've decided yet. But We'll still have a Q&A so that you guys can bring your questions to us, bring your feedback to us as well. And yeah, there's going to be some other things in the work too. But yeah, the podcast will not be every 2 weeks. It'll go to once a month. But I think the like overall quality of the podcast will be good. It'll be a little bit more like organized and have a little bit higher value in the content per episode.
I don't know. I like the chaos.
Yeah,
I'm all about the chaos.
We all do. Yeah, thanks for the feedback as well, Tornado, on my microphone. It's because I keep leaning back. I'm having a good time, and I keep leaning back, and I'm not projecting into it very well, so apologies. But yeah, Tony, it was great to have you on and be able to chat with you today. And it's been awesome to get to know you over the past year and a half or so. And we look forward to seeing more and more from you as well. Yeah, guys, go check out Tony. If you're on the YouTube channel right now, pinned at the top of the screen is the links to his content. And then if you're on Twitch, I just put it in chat. So you're on Twitch mainly. You said you do have a YouTube, and you are going to want to, like, you're focusing on trying to get more content out on YouTube, right?
Yeah. I started to try to do some content. I do the mod videos. I usually was doing them every day, and then the computer just kind of wasn't allowing for that. And I tried to stream on YouTube, but then the PC, took its nosedive. So I'd like to get back to that. Hopefully, if this solves the problem, and kind of do a little bit more on that. And but yeah, mainly Twitch.
I hope that it works out for you with the CPU coming now. I know that it's been a struggle for you. So if you can get this CPU up and running, like when should we expect your next stream to be?
Tomorrow morning, 9:30.
9:30 Eastern time?
a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
There you go. So add on 6 hours if you're in Central European time, or go to the time zone converter, Google it, and figure out what time it is for you. Go check out Tony. Next week, we'll be back with another spotlight, and we're going to have 82's Studio. So a content creator and modder. I think it's only the second or third person that we've had on that has experience in modding. So I'm really excited to have David on and talk to him about his journey as a modder and a content creator. So that'll be next week, same time, same channels. And until then, keep being awesome, everyone. Tony, thanks again, buddy. We'll see you soon.
You're the best.
Bye, everyone.